When I came home one night after my coming out story, he decided to take all of my things that were in the living room and put it in my room, and he claimed that it was clutter and that he wanted to clean out the space.
What's your name? What are your gender pronouns? How old are you? And what's your sexuality?
Okay, hi, my name is Jen. My pronouns are her, hers. My sexuality is bisexual and I am 20 years old.
What are you passionate about?
I love my hair. I change it up every week or so, maybe every 2 days or so, but since it's in a style, I'll keep it in for like a month or two. I love dancing. I want to say I started dancing when I was like really little, and I've always wanted to do it. I danced for my local church pre-COVID. I was dancing in my school's organization called AFSA, and what else did I do? I was also doing other forms of dancing, if you will, so gymnastics and cheerleading. I know it's not like exactly, but I was always using my body in some form. What else? I love music. I feel like music is something that is very relative to me, and if I can't express it through dancing, I can express it through music, and it's a beautiful thing to have.
Tell us a little about what it was like for you growing up. What was your relationship to your parents, siblings, and friends?
Okay, so growing up, I had some good friends. My relationship with my mom and dad were pretty good. I lived with my grandparents. I was also relatively close to them. I'm an only child in the house. I have siblings who are older than me. I'm the baby. But my parents only had me together, and sometimes it would be a little lonely because I didn't have anyone around my age to hang out with. So whenever I used to go to school or whenever I went to the park, I was very social. My mom used to tell me all the time I would try to get my house number to give to people so that I could talk to them, and obviously she would say no, but that's just how hyper I was about meeting people and trying to get to know people. I was into, like I said before, I was into gymnastics, I was into cheerleading, very active in school. I used to tap dance for my 5th grade class, I think. What else did I do? I think I was in the spelling bee once. Yeah, I just tried everything, and I was a happy kid overall. As long as I got to go to the mall with my mom every Saturday, and I got a toy. I used to love Barbie toys or like anything with Dora, princesses specifically. That was my favorite thing ever. So as long as I got that, I was pretty happy. So I had a pretty happy childhood.
When did you first know you were bisexual? And what did the coming out process look like for you?
That's a good question. I didn't know I was bisexual until late high school, early college. So I never knew that I was into women, like as much as I was into guys. For the most part, I was attracted by guys, and guys were attracted to me, so it made sense. Okay, I like boys, great. But I would always find myself looking at women a certain way. I would always wonder like, oh, what is she like? Or I always wondered like what their bodies would look like, and I just thought it was a fascination. I just thought, okay, maybe I just have an over appreciation for women, you know? And it started to bloom in high school, and my friends used to tell me, yo, you're so gay, and I'm just like, no, I'm not. I just like to mess around. I like to say shit. I like to do shit. Like it doesn't mean anything. And I want to say junior, senior year, I would find myself looking at women a little too long, and And if I know anything, I know that if you look at something for a little too long, it probably means you're attracted to it in some way, or you like it a lot. So again, kind of pushed that down. I had a boyfriend for most of my high school career, and we broke up in my freshman year, early freshman year. So I was over it, done with it. And then I met a girl in my class, and I wasn't interested in her like that, but she approached me. We became friends at first, and the more time that I spent with her, the more time that I realized this is exactly the same kind of behavior that I would do with a boy that I liked. And I didn't know what to do with that information. It was just like, so what do I do now? Like, I was kind of like in a standstill. So I agreed to go on a date with her. And I told myself, if I don't feel comfortable in a public setting with her, I am not into girls. Because I felt like that was disingenuous. I didn't want to be the, oh, she's bi-curious, she don't know what she wants. Like, I've heard of the stereotypes of bisexuals, and I just didn't want to do that. I had a lot of respect for the LGBTQIA+ community, and I didn't want to put on any bad rep than it already had. So I went on this date with her. I was perfectly fine with it. I held hands. I think we did some stuff together, and it made me really happy to be in her company in public. And that was kind of confirmation for me, like, okay, I can do this. I don't feel weird about it. This feels pretty normal, and I'm okay with it. So we started dating, I think in January of last year, and this is probably my best relationship overall. Not to diss any of my previous relationships, but I feel it's different. I can't explain it. It's just different. Sometimes there are men in my life who would just catcall me, who would bring nothing to the table really, but I feel like with her, she wanted to be my friend first, and then to form a relationship afterwards, as opposed to boys who are just like, she looks good, I want to fuck her, or she looks good, I want to talk to her. Like, there was no substance after that. So yeah, I'm really happy in my current relationship right now. So my mom noticed that there was this girl hanging around a lot around my house, driving at all hours of the night, and she was like, so what's going on? And I'm just like, I don't know. I didn't know at the time. I just was trying to feel it out, you know, see where it was gonna go, because my household is a Caribbean household, and that kind of speaks for itself. But for those who don't know, Caribbeans are very traditional, you know, man with wife, kids, family, career, whatever, get an education drilled into your head, get an education drilled into your head. So that was the environment that I was living in, and specifically a male in my family was very adamant about that and me having a male partner in my life and nothing outside of that. So I obviously didn't want to tell him, because I knew it wasn't going to end well. But I told my mom because I felt like within my household I could trust my mom the most. I felt like I've told her a lot of information that I haven't told everybody, and she's kept it to herself, and I appreciate that because it shows me that we have an understanding of, if I tell you something, you're gonna keep it to yourself and not blab it to the entire community. Like, so I told her, and she was like, oh, okay. And I'm just like, so what does that mean? Do you not like it? Like, are you confused? Like, what's your take? And basically she was like, it's a little weird. And I'm like, okay, I'll take that. And my whole basis was, if it's weird for you, are you still gonna treat me like a child? And she still does. She still calls me her baby, which I kind of hate, because just like, I am almost 21, but she doesn't care. Still calls me her baby all the time. She calls me her Jen Ben. That's so weird. Jen Ben.
Jen Ben?
Jen Ben. That
wow.
is, no, please nobody say that. That's her nickname for me only, and my grandma. But yeah, she still treats me the same, and that's what I appreciate. So I told her probably a couple months after I started dating my partner, and it's been like a year and some change now. So some things happened within the last month, and a male in my family got a little suspicious, was trying to figure out what was going on. He was saying some really out-of-pocket things. He was trying to suggest that me hanging out with my partner was going to turn me to the other side, and that if I was going to the other side, he would leave me and my mom. And it still makes me upset to this day. It's still fairly new for me because it was just last month, but I don't understand why you would say that kind of crap. Like, this male in my family had an image for me. He wanted me to be the best, and he wanted me to have everything, which is fine, and I want that for myself too. However, it doesn't look like his plan. I am not who he thinks I am, and mainly that's because we don't have conversations that I would like to have with him. It's simply because he is an older man and I am a new generation to him, and some of the things that this new generation does is very weird to him, and he doesn't quite understand it. And most importantly, he doesn't take the time to understand it. So I went to clear the air, because I remember I was going to this party one day, and I knew that somebody at that party was kind of homophobic. And I said, I can't bring my partner to this party if I didn't tell my own house. So I made the decision to tell this male member of my family, and he did not take it well at all. I heard, do you think God loves you? I heard, I'm going to leave you and your mother. I heard Bible references. I heard, I just can't deal with it, let your mother deal with it. So as you could tell, that did not sit well with me. I literally like cried like halfway through, and he tried to insult my mother because he felt as though she had a responsibility to tell him things about me, and I felt as though my sexuality was not pertinent for her to tell him. It does not harm me. It does not necessarily benefit me in any way. It was just a piece of information for you to share. It's just like, I'm having dinner with Summer tonight. So what? Like, who cares? And he felt as though he should have known sooner. And in my mind, I'm like, you wanted me to tell you exactly when I knew? Because I didn't even know at the time. For about 19 years of my life, I didn't know what my sexuality was. And for me to come to you now, to have the strength and the courage to tell you, like, hey, this is me, this is not who you think it is, I was baffled. I'm just like, what do you want from me? I have done nothing but be a good student in school. I am a good person in my community. I don't hurt anybody. I don't steal. I don't do any of that crap. And yet you still think that I owe you something when I don't. If I were to not tell you, I wouldn't have told you. I actually wasn't planning on telling you until I was 25, or when I got my own shit together and I was in my own place with my own partner, and we could have distance, so that the anger and resentment that I feel now, I wouldn't have to feel. But because you want to assume and you don't want to ask the right questions to the person you want to ask them to, this is what happens. So he kind of just stormed off, said, I'm just done, and I'm just like, okay, I guess. And at that time I was just like, at least I told you. Like,
how did his response make you feel? Like him storming off?
Actually, I'm over it. Very over it. He was putting stuff in his bag as if he was leaving, and I refused to let him leave until we were done with this conversation, because it's just like, you wanted to make speculations. I'm here to clarify them, and now you want to leave because this conversation is not going the way that you want it to go. I just don't see the sense in that. That means you didn't want to have a conversation in the first place, and if you found out years later, it still would have been, why didn't you tell me sooner? Or, oh my god, this is so new. No, it's not. I just never told you. Like,
what do you think is the biggest misconception that most people have about bisexuals?
I've heard a lot of, oh, you have the best of both worlds. And I said, I guess so. Like, it kind of depends, because bisexuality means you like both genders, but you don't have to like them equally. You can be more of a lesbian than a heterosexual, but you still can't ignore the fact that you like men, you know? And I don't know where I am on the spectrum, if I'm being honest. I just know that I like both. And I shouldn't be questioning still. I shouldn't be bi-curious. It's kind of just like, if I like you, I like you. If I don't, I don't.
Have you ever felt that you were the victim of homophobia or felt threatened by those around you because of your sexual orientation? If yes, can you provide an example?
Ooh, that's a good one. I don't think I've... Well, actually... I don't know if this is a form of homophobia, but when I came home one night after my coming out story, he decided to take all of my things that were in the living room and put it in my room, and he claimed that it was clutter and that he wanted to clean out the space. And he is the type of person to do that kind of thing when he feels like things aren't his way, or if he feels like it's too junky, he'll move it. But at the time, we just had this conversation, and all of a sudden, all of my stuffed animals are in my room, and I'm just like, so why did you move it in my room? It wasn't bothering anybody until now, I guess. Like, were you bothered that my things were there? They're not bisexual. They're stuffed animals. Like, they're just there.
Describe a moment in time where you had to hide or suppress your sexuality to appease others.
Ooh. That's a great question. I don't think I have one at the moment. That doesn't mean it didn't happen, but I can't think of a specific moment. I just know that it has happened. I would say, think of my friends as opposed to my partner. I've gotten used to saying my partner a little bit more than girlfriend, so I try to use that word partner, but I end up saying friend around, I think, family, probably, yeah. This is my friend, or even sometimes strangers, I'll say, oh, this is my friend. And it kind of made me feel weird because I didn't want to deny myself this attraction for this person or deny our whole relationship. But my partner understands that I'm kind of like a newbie, so it's okay for me to like say that, but over time I will get used to, or I will be comfortable with saying partner, girlfriend, things like that.
What do you think the effects of race on your sexuality are, if there are any?
Less respect, most definitely. I feel like, well, there's two sides of the coin, but I said less respect because I used to be a Caribbean black woman. Now I am a Caribbean queer black woman, and sometimes that's a hard pill to swallow for others, and they don't quite understand how that could be, because again, based on how I was raised, I should probably be heterosexual, and they feel as though, and there could be influence in my family or influence in some fashion that caused me to be that way, and they won't look at me the same. I feel as though. I think that's for outsiders, people who don't believe in that kind of stuff. As a black woman, we already get enough hate as it is in general, and it's so crazy because take, for example, the Tokyo Olympics. Like, there are not many women participating as it was, but now there's more, and now they find any way to kind of disqualify us, have us not participate, and it's just like, let them be, you know? That's what we're all about, Black excellence. We're trying to get ourselves out there and be somewhat on the same playing field as others. And for me, going into the science field, hard enough as it is, and people might try to take advantage of me because I like both genders, or because I'm exotic and I like both genders. Like, it's always something for them, and it's gonna be hard for me to try to stand my own ground, to say the least. I haven't had any encounters of that though, specifically. For some reason, I've been getting more support than hate. But I'm grateful for it, no doubt, because I know a lot of people have more negative experiences than positive. It's just weird. Sometimes I feel like God wants to give me all of this positive energy and then very little negative experiences. I'm just like, I didn't do anything to deserve it, but I'm glad I'm able to have it, because now I feel like I can say proudly, I am a Caribbean queer Black woman, and I'm here to dominate the world, and I'm here to exist, and you guys can't do anything to me. I've told other members of my family, they've been okay with it. They've been questioning me about what it is, the culture, how it's different from other things. I know my mother has been questioning me about, like, oh, what does the acronym stand for, or stuff like that. What does it mean to be a transgender? Like, those are genuine questions that she wants to know so she could stay informed, which I appreciate, and so do the rest of my family. Yeah, I think that's it. I haven't told many people, surprisingly. I feel as though I'm a private person, and that information is very, very private to me. And if you hear me talk about, oh, me and my partner in a casual conversation, then you can ask, oh, did you say partner? Are you not? I'll be able to answer your question, but I'm not privy to announce myself to the world. Like, I'm bisexual, guys. Like, you guys need to know all of this. Like, no, people don't care. Like, literally, a lot of people don't care, and sometimes they don't want to know.
What is your opinion on using labels to identify ourselves? Labels such as lesbian, bisexual, gay, transsexual, or even butch, top, bottom. Are you for or against them?
Labels are cool. Labels are fine for me. When I was coming out, or when I was figuring out my bisexuality, I didn't want to put a name on it, because I said, okay, if I like this, then I like this too, and maybe I just like everybody, and it was just very confusing at a time. So use labels when you're ready, specifically. If you want to label yourself as something, that's fine. I feel as though sometimes we change constantly, so there's really no telling what you are. Like, you can, there's proof that you're Black, or there's proof that you're Italian or Hispanic, but there's no proof of, like, are you going to stay a lesbian forever? Because somebody asked me that, like, are you gonna be a lesbian eventually? I said, I don't know. Like, I still like guys, so that hasn't changed for me as of yet. Because at one point in time, I didn't think about girls, you know, and that changed within the past 2 years. So I think if you want to use label, be free to use them. And if you don't want to label yourself, that's fine. Just give people direction as to what you're looking for and what your preferences are and such. Because when you don't label yourself, sometimes it gets a little confusing as to what you're for and what you're not for.
Are you religious?
Ooh. I'm not super religious. I was in the church my whole life, and a lot of things that I have seen made me think of the church in a different manner. I've come to realize that organizations, churches, companies, they're all people. They all have feelings. Like, when you think of a company, you think of some broad idea, or you think of the Apple icon for Apple, but they have feelings too. They are very petty. Sometimes they are very ambitious. They have all of these qualities that humans have. So you look at them at a different light. And for me, my church made me think of sometimes how people have objectives that they're trying to execute, and sometimes it's not in a genuine manner. And I kind of wanted to back away from that because it made me think of this idea of a building, and you want to go to this building every Sunday to praise the Lord, and then you go home where your life does not it does not show the life of God that wants for you. So I felt as though people were holding on to the idea of this building being the church, when church is you. Church is what you do outside of the building. And I'm a firm believer of making sure you're very vocal of who you're for in terms of like beliefs, in terms of manners, in terms of morals. Like, that's the basis of it, you know? All religions have this relatively similar idea of be a good person, and, you know, don't harm people, don't make people feel bad about themselves, or things like that. So that's what I focus on. I'm not super spiritual. I believe in karma, good karma and bad karma, and I feel like life is a teacher. And I think that everything has something to do with God. And I am trying to form a better relationship with Him because it has not been great. I've never had a great relationship with God for the most part. Ever since I left the church, well, pandemic, I haven't been in the building for a while, so I haven't been connected to Him, and that was the idea. Like, you don't connect God to a building, you connect God with yourself. So I have to remind myself every day, like, make sure you acknowledge God today, make sure you say thank you today, make sure you be a good example for God, because that's what He wants for you. So as long as you have that kind of reference for yourself, I think you're good.
Okay. I know you touched on this a little already, but what's your opinion on how the Black church treats queer individuals?
The Black church treats queer individuals not great. I wish there was more acceptance for flaws, or let me not say that. I'm not saying sexuality is a flaw. For flaws, I mean sometimes people make mistakes. When you're young, you do things, you don't do the right thing, and sometimes you'll get criticized for it. So let's say you're drinking and you're at a party, or like you get knocked up by somebody that you didn't really mean to, and just things like that. And there's a lot of criticism around that, around being human. Like, I used to think about how these people were our age at one point in time, and they had these same experiences, but for some reason they feel as though criticizing us will make us better, and it doesn't. It makes us depressed, it makes us sad, it makes us feel like we're not good enough, it makes us feel like I can't bring my partner to church because everybody will just start looking at us and being like, oh, who's that? That's her friend? Or that's her friend? Like, that's none of your business. I brought somebody to church today. Please be grateful for that, because they didn't have to come, but they decided to, you know? And the whole point of fellowship is to get people to understand the Word of God and who God is. Not to speculate, not to mingle about other people, not to gossip. Like, that ain't it. That's not it. and I wish that could be corrected, it won't be for a very long time because it's deep-seated. Even if it's not in a religious setting, there are black people who are homophobic, who are disapproving of the LGBTQIA plus community. They just don't like it. And it's just like, we have to figure out why. If you figure out why, then maybe we could get to the bottom of it, and maybe there will be room for more black people to be encouraged to go to church and supposed to scared.
How can heterosexuals be a good ally to queer folk?
For me, it was spreading information on Instagram. For me, it was not being afraid of saying that my friend is a transgender. For me, it was educating other people about the community, because when I was a heterosexual, I didn't know a lot about the community. So when I made a friend or when I had a question about it, I would go to my friend and say, hey, what does this mean exactly? Because I have somebody asking me and I quite don't know either. So could you please tell me? And that way, not only is the person who asked the question informed, but I am as well. So now I can advocate for them if somebody wants to. What else can we do? Rallies are a thing. Showing up. Show up. Just show up to the things. Show up to the rallies. Show up to Pride. Pride is, a lot of heterosexuals go to Pride in support of their friends or in support of the community in general. So that's also something. If you can't go out of state for some reason, there are local events going on for us as well. Just don't be publicly afraid to say, hey, my friends are part of this community too. Don't say that kind of stuff. That's not cool. You know, it's kind of with rape culture, like, call out your guy friends. Don't be silent because they're your friend. Like, no, say that's wrong. You know. So that's really all we want from you. We don't want you to necessarily be us, because that's not what it's about. We want you to stand with us, just like we stand with other minorities or other people who need the help.
What message would you give to someone struggling to accept their sexuality?
Take your time. Don't be afraid to try new things. If you feel like something is different, talk to someone you trust. Probably, if you don't trust your family, if you don't trust your friends even, I would suggest going to your local therapy group, whether it be through your school or through your, I don't know if there's a thing for that. Any local therapy groups kind of like that, I would go to those as well. Tell people when you're ready. Don't feel pressured to tell somebody when you're really not sure, if you just are confused, because then people will get the wrong idea and they'll start to make judgments about you. When you're trying to figure this out, I don't want to say be prepared, because you're never going to be prepared. Don't feel like if you ever encounter somebody who just calls you like a slur because you're thinking about it or you're questioning it, you can take it and eventually you will have to move on from it. It's okay if you feel it and you feel it for a very long time, because like me, I still hold on to the things that people have said to me, because it does hurt. We're not asking you to move on from that situation. It just happens, and you are the best way to handle it. And just know that there's support out there, so much support out there for you, whether it be through social media, whether it be through events, meetings. Like, there are so many different kinds of support that you don't even know about. Just because we're not shouting from the rooftops doesn't mean it's not there. You will never know who will be nice to you. So I would say expect the unexpected, basically, because I wasn't expecting a lot of the support that I was getting, and I'm glad I did. So just be open to whatever you're about to receive and go from there. Be yourself. Don't change who you are. I know that may be very difficult for people to do. Stay true to your beliefs. If you feel like this aligns with your beliefs, go for it. If you feel like it doesn't, then you don't have to do it. There was something else I could have sworn. Something else on the tip of my tongue. Don't feel like you have to make other people happy. I don't at all feel regretful for what I did, because I didn't do anything wrong. For me questioning, to me confirming, to me coming out, I didn't feel as though maybe I shouldn't do this. I don't want to disappoint anybody. I focused on myself when I was through this process, because it was about me, not anybody else. People will make you feel like crap. People will make you feel like you're crazy, you don't know what you're talking about. People will not understand, and that's not their issue. It's not their issue. You live your life for you and only you. Live your best life. It's a hot girl, hot boy summer, whatever you want to call it. Live your best life. And I guarantee you, once you figure out your path, things will start to open up to you and you will see things. You will see things very differently.
Do you have any final words for those watching?
Thank you, Jamisha, for this setup. I told her before we started this interview, her interview came at a very interesting time in my life, because I just came out to my family. So I thought I was gonna cry, but I ended up not crying. I'm actually just kind of pissed, but same emotion relatively. I'm glad I pulled it together to convey my message. What I wanted to convey also was, even though my family member made me feel really hurt and we don't talk anymore, it doesn't mean that I don't love them anymore. I still have a lot of love for them, but the respect is not there. And personally, I just don't tolerate that. I feel like when you're growing up, you should be seeing the age that you are and the responsibilities that come with it. If you are a good person and you don't do anything to anybody, you should be fine, in my personal opinion. I feel as though respect should be given when received, for me. That was my biggest thing when it came to coming out. I should get the respect I deserve, because I've done nothing to anybody to disrespect them, you know? And that might not be something that people can understand, because there's a hierarchy still going on. Like, I'm here, this person's here, I should bow down, or I should belittle myself to appease them. That's not something I'm here for, and that's not something anybody should be here for, because if you belittle yourself, you're not going to get anywhere. You're just going to hide yourself, be ashamed of the emotions that you're feeling, and you're going to be bitter, you're going to be regretful. It's just not a good look. Once you accept the things that are needed to be accepted, you literally will glow. Like, I saw Jamisha and I was like, you look so different. I didn't know what it was, but just growing and experiencing and allowing yourself to be in that space and finally say, you know what, this is what I'm doing right now, and I'm okay with it. And you'll literally start to look better. Like, take pictures before and after. So if you're in a struggling process, that's cool. Check yourself from 3 years from now. You're gonna be on a whole different place. People are not gonna recognize you from your aura. Like, the way that you look, your posture, your smile, the way that you carry yourself is gonna look very different. So that's something that I would tell people. Don't be afraid to do it, because you're gonna be happy about it. And it may not feel great in the beginning. Later it will.
You want to plug in any social media, any projects you're working on?
I am not doing any projects right now. You guys can follow me on Instagram. It's blk.j sunflower, instead of the ER, it's 2 R's. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you guys.